Today we bring you a video on Antoine Griezmann, but most importantly we're going to be trying to answer why is he not enjoying the best of moments at Barcelona. What's going on guys, ¿Cómo están? And before starting off the video, I would like to begin with a rather sad note, and that is that if you remember Juan Carlos Unzue, who managed Celta de Vigo, but before that was also the right-hand man for Luis Enrique at his time at Barcelona, he has unfortunately announced that he's suffering from ALS. ALS, you remember the whole thing about the ALS bucket challenge, where it's exactly that disease, and it's a disease that unfortunately still has no cure found, and the doctors have communicated to him that unfortunately he will only be able to have 4 years left to live, and that is something very strong and something that really makes you kind of want to reflect on how much we are lucky to actually be having the opportunity to do the things that we love. So I just have to say, stay strong, Unzue, and I know that all of the Barca fans really appreciate the work that you have done for us, the commitment, the determination that you put every day when it came to working for Barcelona. And I just wish you really from the bottom of my heart, and I know all of you watching, that we are gonna wish him the very best. And yeah, Forza Unzue. But moving back to the topic of this video, you may have noticed that in previous games, in recent matches, Antoine Griezmann has most of the time been a little bit invisible and not have the kind of sort of protagonism that we would have wanted when we signed him from Atletico Madrid back in the start of the season. And this is something that I know a lot of you are actually commenting. I've read different comments all the way from Antoine Griezmann is invisible to Barcelona playing with 10 men. And the fact of the matter is that to some extent, this is actually true. Barcelona are not really utilizing Griezmann to the best of his abilities, and if he's on the field, he doesn't tend to contribute as much as we would have wanted. It comes always to the time in a footballer's career where they move to a new club and they need to kind of adapt, they need to kind of find new ways to get their game going, and most importantly, feed into a new system. And that is the sort of thing that we're going to be focusing on today. Try to find out what is really going on with Antoine Griezmann. And well, a player's adaptation, in my opinion, originates from two different points. And those are the player's attitude, how much they're willing to put to actually become better, and then the support from the coaching staff. Things that are external reasons per se, but can ultimately affect the way that a player develops. Seemingly being game time or being where does he play, in what position is the manager putting him under. When it comes to the attitude of Antoine Griezmann, we've always seen him to be as an extrovert player, but rather also utilizing things that you would see from an introvert. This is kind of like a very unique mix and something that I for instance, can relate to, but we've seen most of the time Antoine Griezmann incorporating things from pop culture, kind of like Fortnite, kind of like Football Manager into his celebrations or into the way that he posts and communicates himself on social media. And this is something that is perfectly fine and something that really resonates with a young generation. If you ask a lot of kids nowadays, footballing idols here and there, they would sometimes say Antoine Griezmann because he relates to them. And that is something that is fine, that's what he likes. But coming to Barcelona, he doesn't really tend to show that. Just apart from his very first kind of celebration that he did when he scored 2 goals against Real Betis and the confetti, you know, he was copying from Jordan. But after that, we haven't had much of that kind of fresh and unique Antoine Griezmann that we would have liked. Rather, I would say that he's leaving his creativity behind to actually focus on his play. And this is something that you have to actually admire, because we're seeing that a guy is changing the way that he really behaves as a person to try and focus on what is really important for him right now. And that is actually succeeding at Barcelona. And that is something very good initially, because we know that he knows that something is not right and changes must be made. And he has been very critical so far this season, saying that sometimes it's so hard to play, like he doesn't even know to remember how to dribble, or that his style at Atletico Madrid is completely different to Barcelona and that he knows that he's trying to learn it. So that is perfectly the right attitude that we need from a player like him. We needed to have the player say and know that improvements must be made. So good job Antoine Griezmann to recognizing that, because it takes real men to actually know when something is not going their way. When it comes to the other external reasons and the support from the coaching staff, you cannot really say that Antoine has not have that. Although you may kind of argue that Quique Setien has put Antoine Griezmann, and the very same thing with Valverde, on very unorthodox positions for the player, be it as a left winger when we know he doesn't have the pace or the kind of simply natural ability to play in that position, or also as a center forward, but playing him as a not target man, but a main number 9, you know, as a complete striker. those are positions that initially you would have said, oh, Antoine Griezmann would have played in those before, you know, left winger when he first started at Atletico Madrid and back at Real Sociedad, and as a striker for France and as a striker for Atletico Madrid. But the thing here is that when I tend to read comments like that, and when I see people kind of saying, oh, it's fine, he's playing his right position, the truth of the matter is that there are many different ways of playing in those positions. There are many different ways of left wingers. There are many different types of strikers. And Antoine Griezmann is a secondary striker. From natural ability, he's a secondary striker. On top of that, we also have to mention that most of the time when substitutions happen, and I'm going to recall that game against Leganes as well, you've seen that Quique Setien actually prioritizes keeping Antoine Griezmann on the field. And that is something that really shows that there's support from the coaching staff. It's not a thing that I would have wanted them to do, because I think Ansu Fati was particularly having a great game against Leganes. But keeping Antoine Griezmann there is positive for him, because it means that the coaching staff are not ready to give up on him yet. As soon as that happens, then you can say that his adaptation is really failing. But as of now, for us, or especially more for Antoine Griezmann, he is at least getting the game time for him to try and adapt, to kind of rediscover himself. And that is something that is positive for him. So yes, he's having, in my opinion, 100% the support from the coaching staff. And you see it numerously from kind of quotes from Quique Setien saying how important he's for Barcelona, because there are things that he does still that of course gonna help us. And we're gonna be talking more about them in this next section. So now you probably are begging to question, Buga, if those two things that you say, the attitude and the coaching staff, are actually working towards Antoine Griezmann, how is his adaptation still not at 100%? How is he invisible for Barcelona? Well, the truth of the matter is that Antoine Griezmann, like I said there, I hinted to it, is a rather unique type of player. A secondary striker, a center forward, whatever you want to call it. Griezmann is a player that benefits from the hard work of others and needs a kind of main point of reference to really work around. You see it in different clubs, for instance, like Real Sociedad, he had Agarreche, then he had in France Olivier Giroud, in Atletico Madrid he had Diego Costa, Fernando Torres, Kevin Gameiro, and there are many different types of strikers there. You have target mans like Diego Costa and Agarreche or Olivier Giroud, and then you have more kind of versatile strikers but still complete central number 9s in Kevin Gameiro and Fernando Torres. Antoine Griezmann needs a player like those to actually kind of play around. Because most of the time, Antoine Griezmann is not the guy making the hard work for others to benefit, but rather he's the one being benefited. The problem is that at Barcelona, Lionel Messi already is that player being taken advantage of. The team plays for Leo Messi, and we need the team, or well, Antoine Griezmann needs the team to play for him. That's a thing, and kind of a very big reason why many players do not make it at big clubs. Because these sort of players need to be the central and focal point for an entire system, because they need to actually occupy spaces that other players are occupying in that new team. Here is happening that for Antoine Griezmann, because Griezmann will tend to actually go and cut into the middle. He will tend to occupy the spaces just below a striker positions, but that is where Messi plays currently. So it comes to no surprise really that when Antoine Griezmann has played the best, he has been surrounded by someone like Luis Suarez. And just so you get a real taste of what I'm trying to say, if you look at Luis Suarez now as a player and also Antoine Griezmann this season, you would see how different actually their hexagons are, how different they are as a complete number 9. They are utilizing their play, what they know, for different things. So you cannot say that one should take the role over the other. Perhaps Luis Suarez can do more of what Antoine Griezmann can do, but Antoine Griezmann cannot do as much as Luis Suarez, in the sense of kind of being a direct central number 9. So that is why I'm trying to show you guys with this first section. I'm trying to show you that Antoine Griezmann is a different striker. And just because he is a striker, a center forward, it doesn't mean that he can be the main point of reference in a team. And the second reason why Antoine Griezmann is suffering is very simple, and that is that he has a lack of space. At Atletico Madrid, at Real Sociedad, and to France to some extent, he always would have tended to find some space in front of him. And at Barcelona, that is completely different. At Barcelona, you need to learn to play in tight spaces, in tight areas. Why? Because Barcelona's, their whole thing, their whole system is surrounded about choking the opposition team with passes, with possession. And that is something new to Antoine Griezmann. And if you don't really believe in how much it's actually affecting the player and how different it can really be, take a look at Antoine Griezmann for the past kind of his iterations at different clubs. You take a look at Antoine Griezmann at Barcelona, compare him to Antoine Griezmann at Atletico Madrid, and compare Antoine Griezmann at Atletico Madrid with Antoine Griezmann at Real Sociedad. there's a very big difference. It's much more similar to Antoine Griezmann of Atletico with the one at Real Sociedad. At Barcelona, we can see that he's much more involved with the actual build-up of the play. His goal percentage and chains are very, very good. But when you take a look at his expected goals, at his assists, at his shots per 90, at his key passes, everything has been falling overboard. It's like if Antoine Griezmann has forgot how to be his other self. Why? Because he's trying to use and learn new ways of playing at Barcelona. And in reality, I believe this is sort of affecting the player and hindering Barcelona in a sense as well, because they're not getting the full potential of an amazing, amazing player like Antoine Griezmann can be. So if you're asking me, guys, how we can tend and fix this, I honestly do not have an answer. I think that Antoine Griezmann was a signing made a little bit too late for Barcelona and one that wasn't studied enough, because we see a player that is very similar, I'm not gonna say to Lionel Messi, but very similar in the way that they occupy the same spaces in the field. And that is something that we do not really kind of need right now. We don't need 120 million substitute to Lionel Messi. I think that there are other areas that Barcelona could have focused 100%, and both the club and Antoine Griezmann are suffering for it. So now, guys, I beg to question, what do you think? What is your opinion about this entire situation? Leave it in the comment box down below. And I have to say that for the next game, my coming game against Sevilla, which is very crucial, I don't know, I could go as far as saying that Martin Braithwaite could be a much better option than Antoine Griezmann playing for the left. So that's gonna be everything for right now, guys. Hope you have enjoyed. If you've learned anything new, be sure to drop us a like, share this with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. I'm trying to make a new style of video, which is kind of like a documentary style biography thingy for players. And I'm gonna be testing it probably on Sunday. I may have time to upload it there. So yeah, hopefully you're excited for that. And oh wait, I forgot as well. Stay tuned for the channel. In the channel, we're gonna be live streaming post-game the Barça and Sevilla game. So you want to discuss what you just seen with us, be sure to stay tuned and watch the live stream with us. So yeah, that's gonna be it. See you in the next one. Take care. Ciao.